Good evening. This is Top Gun, Thursday, January 19th, 5 o'clock at night. This is the world according to Top Gun, fellow travelers. All right, so we just talked about gaslighting and assholes. We're talking about something a little bit more positive now. I was reading last night in psychiatrist Irvin Yalom's book, The Gift of Therapy. Now, for those of you who don't know who Irvin Yalom is, he's probably the greatest living psychiatrist. He's an absolute genius. He's written a number of philosophical, psychological novels, including When Nietzsche Wept, The Schopenhauer Cure, and The Spinoza Problem. And he's also written The Gift of Therapy, and Love's Executioner, a number of other books. And he's based here in Palo Alto, and I had the pleasure of meeting him on one occasion. Now, Dr. Yalom doesn't like the power relationship that tends to exist in therapy between the therapist and the patient. All right, the therapist has all the power. He doesn't reveal anything about himself, and the patient's sitting there pouring his heart out. And Yalom wants to create a different type of relationship, one that's more based on equality. So he says, look, therapists are people too. They're struggling with the same problems that their patients are. So we're all fellow travelers in this life. And this relates also to my the world according to Top Gun, gurus and philosophical systems. You know, gurus can't have relationships of equality. They have disciples where they're the dominant one and the disciples are the inferior ones. So Yalom's talking about relationships of equality between therapists and their patients. Now, the therapist, a therapist presumably knows more, has more insight into psychology, but he's still a human being. They're still human beings, and they still have their own problems. And so it's a fellow traveler. And he uses a great example from a book by Hermann Hesse, Magister Ludi. So there's these two healers, Joseph and Dion. And Joseph is the listener. He listens and he's empathetic and he heals that way. Dion is the one that kind of like calls people out and says like, look, this is what you need to do. This is what you're doing wrong. Fix it. Take action. So anyways, Joseph, the healer, is going through a crisis, and he needs help, and so he goes and seeks out Dion. Both of these guys are legendary healers known throughout the land. And so he's on his way, and he meets somebody in some tavern, and that person takes him under his wing and helps, makes him his apprentice and helps with his healing process. And it turns out that person was Dion. And Dion was actually searching out Joseph because he too was going through a crisis. And so Yalom, however, said, Dion doesn't reveal this to Joseph until he's dying. And Yalom says, here's what Yalom says. Reconsidering the story, I question whether these two wounded healers could not have been of even more service to one another. Perhaps they missed the opportunity for something deeper, more authentic, more powerfully mutative. Perhaps the real therapy occurred at the deathbed scene when they moved into honesty with the revelation that they were fellow travelers, both simply human, all too human. The 20 years of secrecy, helpful as they were, may have obstructed and prevented a more profound kind of help. What might have happened if Dion's deathbed confession had occurred 20 years earlier, if healer and seeker had joined together in facing the questions that have no answers? Yeah, Dr. Yalom is a true genius, and this is a model, in my opinion, not just for therapists and patients, but for all of us. We're all fellow travelers. We're all facing up to the human condition, and we should do so with respect for each other and appreciation that we're all equal. Some of us have special, are more talented or more skillful or better looking or have more money or more powerful. But fundamentally, we're all human beings and we're all entitled to dignity and respect. So going back to assholes and gaslighting, don't you know who I am? Unfortunately, in our society, we have too many people that think they're better than other people. And this is really, really negative for civil society and for our society as a whole. The real model that you want is relationships of equality.